Rest in the divine presence and hold space. Namaste.
Welcome.
Welcome to our weekly online satsang. Satsang is simply a Sanskrit word that means, well, roughly spiritual community. Literally, it means community of truth. So wherever two or more people on the path of seeking the truth, of realizing the truth, awakening, the flowering of the heart, divine union, wherever two or more of us come together in one place, we have a satsang. And we're all strengthened. And when we bring our light and our love and our inner silence together, then it's multiplied exponentially. Spiritual community is an essential part of our growth in higher states of consciousness as time goes on. Because as it turns out, we're not separate individual beings. We're 7.5 billion manifestations of one being, one consciousness, the Supreme. And awakening is really awakening from the dream, the illusion of separate existence, ego, to the reality of one love, one heart, one being expressing itself through the entire universe. As we awaken to our true essence, everything is changed. Everything that's wrong in the world today is because so much of humanity lives in duality and the consciousness of separation, of being separate beings. Wherever there's that perception, there's ego. There's the need to shield and guard ourselves from each other, to protect ourselves from the other taking advantage of us. When we awaken sufficiently, there is no other. There's just one. We look into each other's eyes and we see ourselves looking back through the eyes of the other. There's no fear because you'd never hurt me because I'm you. And I'd never take advantage of you because you're me. It makes absolutely no sense at all. But in the current world, we have a civilization of competition, conflict, and war. Competition between two separate beings that don't exist separately. So when we awaken, that gives way to a new world of cooperation, harmony, and peace. That is the answer to the world's troubles today, is for the collective consciousness of humanity to shift from competition to cooperation, from conflict to harmony, from war and violence to peace. No political movement, no philosophical movement, no religious movement can bring that about. Only a true flowering of the heart of humanity into higher states of consciousness to see reality as it is. Hence, our work and the work of so many other spiritual communities and centers and spiritual teachers and awakened beings today, we're working to awaken as many people as quickly as we can for the sake of the world. And actually, in spite of what it looks like, we're making good headway. There are more awakened people on this planet now than there have ever been before. We have a long way to go, but we're headed full steam ahead. And one of the reasons that we're making such headway, so many people are being awakened, is because the Divine Presence itself has undertaken to help us. We've been trying for thousands and thousands of years to awaken humanity, to awaken ourselves, only to discover that it's not something we can do ourselves. It's a gift of grace. And the Presence has now stepped in an amazing way and is pouring out transmissions of awakened divine consciousness, of the energy of awakening to catalyze that in people, to dissolve blocks and to hasten the process for the sake of humanity as we face all of our current challenges. There are many forms of blessing that have been released on planet Earth at this time. There have always been streams of blessing and transmission that cause awakening, but they were very rare and hard to obtain. Now they're just everywhere. We share one during the Satsangs called the Flowering Heart Blessing. It's something the Divine revealed to me and Suzanne about 7 years ago and showed us this form of blessing. We'd known many others over decades and loved them all, really. But the Divine said, begin to share this one and tell people this doesn't belong to any spiritual tradition. This doesn't belong to any religion, to any master, to any saint, to any avatar or organization of any kind. It comes directly from me. And so it supports all paths. And it's a gift of grace, so it costs nothing. We don't charge for the Flowering Heart Blessing. It's directly from the Divine as a gift. And the Divine said, tell people when they receive this transmission, they are instantly initiated and activated to share the Flowering Heart Blessing themselves. So please help us throughout this webcast. We're already flowing the blessing to you, and we invite you to enter in with us. Invite the Divine to pour the Flowering Heart Blessing through you to all the other participants in the satsang tonight and those who will be viewing this recording in the time ahead. We welcome other forms of blessing. If you come from a spiritual teacher or community that has their own form of blessing, Diksha, Shakti, Pat, whatever it might be, as long as it's from the Divine and its purpose is to bring about awakening and the flowering of the heart in oneness with the Divine and with all that is, please feel free to join us. But you could also join us in sharing the Flowering Heart Blessing, which we would all be doing then. That's nice. So that's what we're doing throughout the webcast. We open it now to questions and answers pertaining to the spiritual journey. It could be anything about awakening, God realization, meditation, reincarnation, karma, the spirit world, anything that you're interested in relative to the spiritual journey, even better yet, what you're experiencing in your own spiritual practice and would like to have some further light or clarity shined on it, please bring forth your questions. Then a little later we'll be doing some very powerful blessings by intention, for asking for powerful divine intervention and miracles for the burdens, the needs, the challenges that you have personally brought with you tonight. And we'll conclude with the open eye light meditation at the end. So, right now, bring on your questions. We'll wait a few minutes for these. It's always nice before you come to one of these satsangs to check inside and ask the presence, is there something that you would have me or encourage me to bring up in satsang to ask about that would be an inspiration for discussion and a help to everyone else? Or just be completely about yourself. It's important that you gain clarity and insight for your own journey. But as it turns out, we all get help when you do that. I don't think we have any other announcements tonight.
If you didn't catch the communion with Cosmic Christ yesterday, I would highly recommend it. It was really, really good, very powerful. I just was spiritually buzzing for hours afterwards. We went out to eat and it still didn't help ground me. It was really, really beautiful. There was a very powerful transmission that came through yesterday. So it's definitely worth your time.
If you find these times draining or troubling in any way, to take the teaching from yesterday's communion with the Cosmic Christ, called the quickening, which is about really being quickened, enlivened by the divine power that dwells within us in spirit and soul, but also in our bodies, to take the empowerment and the infusion of light that was in yesterday's teaching and take that and put it together with the ministry of angels from a month ago. And that recording, if you scroll down on Facebook, if you're on Vimeo, you can find it there in the Flowering Heart Library, or it may be Reverend Dr. Michael Milner. I'm not sure. You're there right now, so you can find it. The angelic invocations are contained there as part of that service, and it would, I think it would be amazing to see how your energy field, how your feelings change after taking in the light that the quickening gives you and then putting forth that light through the invocations of angels to help with what's going on earth right now. I think you'd be amazed. And you'd find that it could be an ongoing tool for you. Just saying.
Who's that?
Linda Baird, you're welcome. She said thank you. Wait just a few more minutes. The divine sometimes will just drop something into my consciousness if people don't ask questions, but I just shared something. It's your turn. Consciousness is contagious. So, sadness is contagious, depression is contagious, anger is contagious, so is joy and love and peace and enlightenment. Enlightened consciousness is exponentially more powerful than endarkened consciousness, than the darkness. So that's one of the reasons it's important to keep growing, to keep deepening with the divine within you, to keep flowering and expanding your consciousness into higher states, because the outer world's a reflection of the inner world. The more people on this planet who can see the light, who can see the presence working through everything around us and within themselves, that's going to change the world. First of all, it's going to change the way you see the world, because if you're in a state of oneness, if you're filled with the light, everywhere you look, you'll see the light shining through everything, through rocks, through trees, through unpleasant people, through difficult circumstances. There's light in it all. And when you're in oneness, you don't see conflict and despair. You see hope and joy and peace in the very same situation that someone else is seeing despair and conflict in. So it changes the way you're seeing the world, and as that happens, you become more and more contagious with the new consciousness. It will catch on. Even if you don't say anything, you just thinking about someone, it'll send that energy and light in their direction. But being in the same room or the same presence with another person, your consciousness and presence will be tremendously uplifting to them, and that ripples out to the collective of humanity. That's why it's so important to not just tread water, not just try to keep your head above water now when things are so difficult, but get up and walk on the water. Go forward into the light. Press forward in your awakening and in the flowering of your consciousness. This is an important time to do it, and that's the greatest thing you can do for the world, actually, is to clear yourself, to allow yourself to flower into higher states, into oneness with all that is. Well, got anything on your mind?
Do you?
I've been pouring out. I'll stay open if something else comes through. This is sort of a place to come to clear the air and get some light, shine in situations when you're feeling the need for that. And yes, to receive the blessing and the presence and the light meditation, which we're going to very rapidly progress toward in just moments, unless someone says something, asks something.
I had a meditation come up last week.
Okay.
We've been trying to put it in all different ways and forms, but basically the gist of it is if we thought about what we're doing today and realize the impact of our choices and our decisions and our actions, our thoughts, if we realized on a very felt level that is going to create our tomorrow. I mean, a lot of us just go through and stay in the mind throughout the day and don't really think about the consequences of our emotions and our thoughts and our actions, and whether they're positive or negative. And whatever we're doing now is what's going to create tomorrow. And just a little meditation to flip around. I've been really trying to be more conscious throughout the day, and that's on all levels, on my emotions and my thoughts and my charges, my programs, and the concept that that's what's creating tomorrow. That sounds like such a basic statement, but when you take it to a deeper level, it has a bigger impact.
Yep, so true. Well, I'm guessing that even though there may not be questions, that there are issues that you're carrying on the inside, situations in your life, in the lives of family members, friends, your community, certainly the world. And so we're going to take a very strong intention for the needs that each of us have brought here tonight. For a very powerful flowering heart blessing. The presence who dwells within us is infinitely powerful. Infinitely powerful. Well, yes, I know that if I could just get the presence to do something. Well, the presence is predisposed to love, to heal, to liberate. That's what the presence is all about. It is unconditional love. Absolutely. And this presence dwells fully within you. The entire Godhead is inside of you at the center of your heart. It's paradoxical that the entire universe is inside of us, but it is. At the very center of your spiritual heart is the divine source itself. And that is your true sacred self. There's only one. And that self, your true self, your sacred self, is infinite, and it is enlightened, and it is divinity itself. So a lot of everything we've been seeking on the outside spiritually to become more enlightened, to become closer to the divine source, is already fully completed within us at the center of our being. If we'd stop running to and fro on the outside and go deep, deep, deep inside, it's there. And we can begin that just by turning within and invoking the presence. There is no separation between you and the presence. It is your source. And it loves you unconditionally. That means no strings attached. The divine doesn't say, I love you today as long as you're good enough. But if you disappoint me or you break the rules, I'm sorry, I'm going to push you away and keep you at a distance. That's what religion has taught in many cases. But that's never been the truth. I think the divine, if it's wept over anything, that's one of the things it's wept over, is that misconception in the heart and the mind of humanity that the divine is keeping a veil between it and us and holding us at a distance until we become holy enough, pure enough, and virtuous enough. And that's the main obstacle to growth, is that kind of thinking. So, and so Linda says, I don't feel like I'm getting the same feeling from the eye blessing as years ago. Well, feelings change. The divine's still working on you and within you. Sometimes a new practice is like the eye blessing is like world shaking at the beginning, and then you can get used to it or begin to take it for granted. But ask the divine to take you deeper, to open you again to what you were experiencing before. But whenever we get a very powerful or blissful spiritual feeling from a practice, if we hold on to that, eventually the divine typically will withdraw that feeling to make us go deeper and not just be like stuck on or addicted to some magic pill that gets us high or makes us feel good. And More says, I agree with Linda, now I feel it more from heart to heart. Mm-hmm. Well, that makes sense because your hearts have been flowering, but also you probably began with the oneness meditation that I was a giver of 10 years ago. And the flowering heart blessing itself is, in my experience, much more heart-centered than oneness Diksha. Both oneness Diksha and the flowering heart blessing open the upper chakras. But there was much more of an emphasis, I think, especially in the early days with the oneness blessing, the oneness Diksha, on the crown chakra. Oneness with the universe, because it's rooted in Hinduism. And the Hindu notion of enlightenment is very much the blossoming of the crown chakra in oneness, cosmic consciousness, and unity with the universe. There are other focuses on awakening that are much more heart-centered. So, and the divine dwells within us. The source is within us. The source is above us. The source is beyond us. The source is actually everywhere. But this blessing focuses very directly on awakening the heart, awakening our consciousness of the light within our own being. And this was not something we came up with. It was the design of the divine itself in giving us the flowering heart blessing. Rather than pointing people to the next peak experience, point people to the key to enlightenment and God realization, which is discovering what is within you at the center of your being. It does have a different feeling. I noticed that as I awakened more and more, even while still giving the oneness meditation, one of the things that I noticed is that instead of feeling like, and there still is, I feel this very strongly during the Flowering Heart Light meditation too, a lot of light pouring down from above and pouring through every part of my being, but especially through our eyes. But as I became more and more awakened, I felt it more and more radiating from the heart. Still certainly all around us, still light pouring down from above, but this brilliant radiance, like a supernova expansion from the divine within the heart. And that's a really good thing. It seems to accompany higher states of awakening in my experience. But it also helps us, as I've pointed out many times, not to become overly dependent on an external spiritual teacher or guru or a temple somewhere or a place of power that's external to us. These external things, whether they're teachers or processes, can have a powerful and beneficial effect, but eventually we need to discover that that's all a mirror reflecting to us what is radiating from the center of our being, just being reflected in the guru's face, being reflected in the place of power. All of the outer world, everything you're experiencing is a reflection of something that's inside of you, in fact. So I think it's a very good thing that you're feeling it more from heart to heart.
I've found that over the years, my experience with spiritual experiences is that when it's new and you're feeling a lot from it, it's kind of like the first time you go to the gym when you haven't worked out in a few years, you're going to be a little sore, you're going to really feel it, or you're going to, and then as you get used to it, then it's not so much that you're feeling it because you've gotten used to it. You've gotten used to that higher level of vibration and that higher energy. And like after the service yesterday, I had a quickening. I had a really strong experience that I wasn't expecting at all. But I've learned that, like, when I do energy work with people, or when I used to do Reiki all the time, each time I would get used to a new level of energy, and then I wouldn't feel it so much anymore. But I knew that it was there and that it was powerful and there were results. But it's kind of like, the first time that you, maybe if you've ever seen auras, or the first time that you have some kind of maybe a psychic experience, after you do it for a while, it just becomes normal. It becomes second nature, and it's not like, oh, wow. And the other thing too is with the eye meditation is, I really think that there's a point where we're all going to get to where our eyes are looking into yours and yours are looking into ours, and it's not like you're getting, like Michael said, you're not dependent on anybody out of you. You've got it. You've got the juice flowing in you, and so that's where we feel it in the heart, is because we're seeing each other as one, and it's no longer the observer and the observed. It just becomes an exchange between two souls.
Well, I like to see it as an exchange between the divine within us. There are a lot of looking practices where people look into each other's eyes and see the face change into previous lives and stuff. I don't really recommend that. With guidance, it can be very powerful, but it's not the same as the light meditation. I would point out that years ago, when I would lead what we understand now as the light meditation, I every time led everyone in a practice called Ananda Mandala, which is a combination of the breath of fire and mantra meditation with mantras, which very powerfully raises Kundalini and brings your consciousness powerfully up to the crown chakra. And then I would take people into the eye meditation. So I do understand that produces a very powerful peak experience, but in the long run it may not be so healthy to keep trying to do that over and over again. Maybe we'll do it again sometime, but But we did it every time. When I traveled doing the light meditation in a community, I might do Ananda Mandala with that community 5 times a day. And yeah, they would have, because your energy's already so high and your upper chakras are already so open that then when we bring in the light meditation, there tends to be this very psychedelic peak experience going on. This, I think, and you know, if you want to do it, do Ananda Mandala before you come into the satsang, and then you'll be in that place. But we're just going right to the heart, and it's in a way it's gentler, but believe me, it's no less potent, no less powerful, and we shouldn't. And I'm not saying you are, but none of us should measure the depth or the value of a spiritual experience by how much buzzing electricity we feel going through our fingertips or our brains. You know, it's that. I know people that have very, very powerful Shakti, and whose third eyes are very open, have all kinds of psychic visions. They can see other planes, they can see on the astral plane, they can see other lifetimes and see spirits and have all this energy going through them. Sometimes they're very profound healers who are not at all enlightened. I mean, there can be a tremendous spiritual ego about psychic gifts. There can be about spiritual gifts too, but then you tend to get your butt kicked because it's coming really from spirit. But I'm just, okay. So, Morey says some astrologers are saying that more energy and spiritual light is coming to Earth. Absolutely it is. And so, we welcome it.
That's the last one?
That was the last one. Linda had written, yes, I feel a lot of pressure in my heart chakra. Sometimes I've heard people say that accompanies like expansion in the heart chakra. They feel pressure there. But yeah. My experience, and everybody's is different, I'm sure Suzanne's is different, but when we're doing the light meditation, things change immediately in my perception of reality. I see like a bright white fog fill the room. And the more, sometimes when it's very powerful, it's like everything in the room is dissolved in this luminous white mist or cloud. And that's the presence, and it's the luminosity of the presence that we're being dissolved into. And I am lifted almost immediately into what some people call the breathless state. The term, I think, is kumbhaka in Sanskrit, which means the cessation of breath, where there's just so much light and energy going through, you don't even have to breathe. I experience that a lot with the light meditation. So I know the power's there. and it's an amazing feeling to be in the space between breaths and to see you all and all of us together dissolving in this white cloud. Sometimes I also am aware of the vast open door through the crown chakra of this. It's like it's like a matrix. No, it's like a spiral of light that's spiraling down from the infinite, from the highest, right through my crown chakra, and just going out through all of us. And there's also, besides the downward spiral of that light, within it is an upward spiral simultaneously, like the Ida Impingala nadis.
Or the DNA strand.
Or the DNA strand, right. So there's something in it that's lifting us into the transcendent. And I remember something they used to tell us in processes in India, and that is that you're only aware of the tiniest little bit of what the divine's doing to you. 80-90% of everything taking place in this 2-week, 4-week advanced retreat, 80-90% at least, is being done invisibly by the divine. You don't see it, you don't feel it. We just give you stuff to do, and you get to feel a little bit just to keep you entertained, to keep you focused. And the divine is doing all this light work on us that we don't see and we don't feel. And that's often a really good thing, because when we see it and we feel it, there's a danger of getting puffed up, of getting some spiritual ego about it. And when we don't know what's going on, but somehow we keep being transformed and growing, that's better in many ways. So I'm just trying to give you some insights about that. Another comment, Michael, many times when I myself have done the heart blessing with you and Susan, I have many, many times seen at least 5 different faces looking into your eyes. Yeah, so I get it. I do. Oh, that was the other thing that I experienced first with the oneness meditation. I still experience it with the flowering heart light meditation, is that divinely realized beings, I mean saints or divine beings that are absolutely fully God realized and free of self, that are part of the light, part of the Godhead, will sometimes come through. And people at different times have seen a lot of different faces come through. And it's not the same as 2 people looking into each other's eyes and seeing the faces of previous lives. It isn't that. These are great divine beings coming through. But much more with the flowering heart blessing, there's one in particular, which is the one itself, of which all the other divine beings are expressions of the one, whatever you want to call it. Atma, Brahma, Paramatma, God the Father, God the Mother. I mean, but there's a supreme that seems to come through in a beautiful way in the flowering heart light meditation, because the divine seems to be melting all of our hearts from the illusion of separate existence into the realization of one being, as we were saying before. But yeah, don't be surprised if you see other things. Yeah. I didn't, I used to not like to even talk about that, because some religious fundamentalists would go, oh, they have entities, they have spirits coming through them. It's not like that exactly. It's not like on the astral plane. It's like these are really like great enlightened teachers. I mean, I remember I was so surprised years ago, Ramakrishna came through, a great, fully awakened, God-realized being, and Vivekananda and Ramana, and those are just the Indian ones. Oh, Yogananda and his bunch, they like to come through too. But also the sort of divine embodiments of other traditions, be it Chinese or be it, because they're all over the world. Anyway, that's very interesting. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Oh, and I want to remind you.
You want to read it out loud?
Great answer. Thank you. And thank you. So, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Sayaban? That's just a guess. But thank you for that. So, I was going to say something, but it completely escaped me. That's probably a good thing.
Okay.
That probably means it's time to dive in. So.
Oh yeah, and if you're joining us
yes, that's
tonight or in the future, like tomorrow, the next day or whatever, please put a like or a love, because if you're not in the chat box, we don't know who's joined us, and so it's fun for us to go back and at the end of the webcast and even during the week to see who tuned in.
There are quite a few people that don't leave comments and do leave a love or a like during the week.
Right.
And it always tickles us to see who's dropped in to look at the
it's nice.
The video, yeah.
It's just a deeper level of connection too.
Indeed. Oh, there we go. Yay! Look at those faces. Okay. Appreciate it.
Fine.
All right. So go ahead when you're ready and close your eyes. And Open yourself to the presence at the center of your being. Or wherever you happen to be experiencing the presence. Above you, around you, within you, it's everywhere. Invoke the presence. Welcome the presence to embrace you, to flood you, to transform you in oneness with itself. This presence is always drawing you into oneness with itself. It's called divine love, divine gravity, drawing you into the celestial sun in the center of your being. All we need to do is let go of our distractions, turn our awareness to the presence, and let go. Presence knows exactly what you need. So release that need to the presence and drink in the blessing. Keep receiving. everyone involved here. So visualize all of us sitting in a circle together. With your eyes still closed, lift up your hands with your palms open, facing forward. Welcome the presence to pour through you the Flowering Heart blessing to all the other participants as they welcome the presence to pour it through them back to you. Let us all take a very strong intention for the needs of those gathered in this satsang to be released, to be solved by the divine itself. Now you can relax your hands, your arms. And when you're ready, you could open your eyes and begin to make direct eye contact with Suzanne and or me. Just keep looking at least one of our eyes. That's all you need to do. During the light meditation, we are flooded with divine grace. The presence begins to pour through me and Suzanne oceans of love, awakening, transforming grace and light through every part of our being, but especially through our eyes. As you keep looking, that light streams out of our eyes into your eyes, and through your eyes into your spiritual heart, causing the flames of divine love, the light of divine awakening to expand and grow ever brighter within you. your eyes now. Meditate with us for a few more moments as the grace settles within us. Now keep meditating as long as it feels good to you. Or you could find a place nearby and lie in Shavasana. That's lying on your back, your eyes closed, your arms loosely at your sides with your palms open, turned upward. And just let yourself lie there, dissolving in the presence in gratitude. We love you guys a lot.
Much love, light, and blessings.
Until we cross paths again, know that the divine in us beholds the divine